Hey everybody, I hope and pray that you're doing well. Today as we come to our word from the word. And today that word is hand. Hand. Now, this in Daniel chapter 5 is the notable story of the famous handwriting on the wall. Well, what was going on is now this is, many years later, 20, 25 years later, when Belshazzar is king now. We're beyond the things of Nebuchadnezzar. But yet, I do want you to be aware as you read this, and you'll see that the things that happened to Nebuchadnezzar were still known by this king and by the people in the kingdom, if we'll put it that way. Now, they should have known, they should have learned, Belshazzar should have learned, and at least Nebuchadnezzar, as he journeyed through his life, and I believe that profession of faith at the end of his life, just looking at what he said. But it's amazing to see that the respect for God did not pass along. So what you find in Daniel chapter 5 is you find that Belshazzar's having a feast for 1,000 people, and they're all coming in, and I guess maybe they ran out of wine glasses or cups, and they needed some more drinking vessels, and so he made the decision to have all of the utensils and those cups that had originally belonged in the temple in Jerusalem and had them brought in to be used by the party goers. Now, in and of itself, you may say, what difference does it make, right? You don't have to worry about them using it in the temple right now. Well, here's the thing is because if something is holy and set apart for God, using those things and really using those in the worship of another god and all the other gods that they were worshiping in their pride, now all of a sudden God's not going to sit idly by. There are things I believe at times that we've all pushed God's buttons, and I believe if you want to use some terminology that we would use, and we've probably all done it. And that's why we look back and say, I can't believe that God has not wiped me off the face of the planet, especially in my teenage years. But as they're having the party and after they have gotten these vessels, now all of a sudden there's handwriting on the wall and nobody can interpret it. So who do we find can who did they try to find to interpret it? None other than Daniel. But now Daniel's probably about 80 years old at this point, and it's amazing that somebody still remembered the work that the Lord had done through him. Yet the king did not. Anyway, moving along, as you look towards the end of the chapter, you'll see in verses 22 through 24, and that's what we're going to look at today. And Daniel chapter 5, he says, but you, his son, Belshazzar, have not humbled your heart, although you knew all this. And he's talking about the things things that had happened to Nebuchadnezzar. And you have lifted yourself up against the Lord of heaven. They have brought the vessels of his house before you and your lords, your wives and your concubines have drunk wine from them, and you have praised the gods of silver and gold, bronze and iron, wood and stone, which do not see or hear or know, and the God who holds your breath in his hand and owns all your ways, you have not glorified. Then the fingers of the hand were sent from him, and this writing was written. Now, the writing on the wall, it's some Aramaic words that basically tell him that his kingdom is going to be destroyed and divided amongst the Medes and Persians. He probably thought he had plenty of time, but actually, if you read toward the end of the chapter, he loses his life that very night. Darius invades that very night, blocks up the water that leading in under the gate, and his troops go right under the gate where the water was. Now, to think about that, all of this, we talked about yesterday being humble, but today the focus on the hand. And there's something that he says, right? You have worshiped all these other gods, but you left out, right? You avoided and you ignored and you spit in the face of the one who holds your life in his hand. See, today our world will want to worship anything and everything. but they are missing the one true God, the one who holds all other things in his hand. Yes, the God who has the whole world in his hands. And he says he holds your life breath. He holds that breath in his hand. See, that hand, that supernatural hand that was on the wall, was straight from God to give him the message that he was not going to sit idly by, that his life would be required of him that night. And all the things that he took pride in, all the things that they were celebrating, when they didn't glorify God, when they didn't praise God for the things that he has allowed and the things that he has done, then they lost everything. I'll leave you with this thought today as we think about God's hand at work. I heard this a long time ago, and it's something that has stuck with me. And usually we say it around the Thanksgiving time. But you think about how Belshazzar got to this point. It was because he became prideful, self-absorbed, ungrateful, and always looking in the wrong places. But here's what I'll ask you. What if you only had today what you thanked God for yesterday? Something for us all to think about. God bless you, and I pray you have a great, great day.